Hello everyone, we're back again with Amulet. This time we're playing round 2. We played round 1 against Bluetron. Some very interesting games there if you want to go back and see that. I also did a little bit more of an in-depth deck tech in that video, so I won't be going over in detail the main board and the sideboard here. So with that said, let's just jump straight into the games. Perhaps we can play against one of those Lurus opponents. We do not want to see green-red anything, to be honest. Green-red is not generally a good combination of colors for us to play against. So let's hope that's not the case if they reveal an Obosh. Okay, so this is going to be a difficult matchup. This is probably red-green Ponza. I mean, this hand's decently well set up, I suppose. We still probably just lose to a Blood Moon, but I mean, I don't think I can mulligan this. It's proactive enough, so. Not looking good for us already, and we haven't even seen our opponent's first land drop, so that's just how this matchup goes. So, we're most likely going to be looking for, I guess, a basic land from this Ancient Stirrings. I think the play is probably Simic Growth Chamber. I mean, we could Pact 4 and play a Dryad and play another land after that. Nah, we'd only have 3 mana in play. So no, we can't make that play. I think we're just digging for a land with Ancient Stirrings. We'll still have a mana floating if we find an amulet instead. If we find none of those things, I am more inclined to take the Sanctuary here, I suppose. Not for any particular reason. Yeah, so we'll just have to see how this goes. If our opponent plays a Blood Moon here, we're in pretty bad shape, so. I mean, to be honest, any land destruction effect would be pretty bad too, like a Stone Rain or a Pillage or something. A Klothys would be an annoying clock, but it would be dealable. Mages of the Moon. Yep. Okay, so looks like we're not likely to win this game. Even if we top deck this, in old rules, this would have come in as a forest, but nowadays it just enters as a Sad Vesuva, so that would have been a good draw, but the Blood Moon rules are no longer what they used to be. So I guess that means we're just playing. I don't think it really matters. We want the T-West in hand, I suppose, if we get a Dryad out, so I'm going to start playing out my bounce lands. But yeah, we're pretty unlikely to win this game. Once I see a real clock. I mean, I'll probably play it out, because this game is going to play out pretty quickly. It's just going to be land go from us until we find a forest, so. Luckily, since we're not splashing any colors, we have access to 4 forests, 2 snow, and 2 regular. So we are slightly at a higher odd to draw those forests, but like I said, I'm not really expecting much from this game. I wouldn't fault anybody for scooping in this position, to be honest. Well, there's a forest. I don't know if we can afford the Summoner's Pact immediately. I think we have to, though, to be honest. It's not playing around literally anything, but I mean, we can't play around anything. There's already a Magus in play, so what else exactly is it that we're trying to play around? I don't know the answer to that question. This also sets up an early blocker, perhaps, so I mean, there's no way we're not just dead here, right? Yep. Stomp? Yep. Okay. Disappointing, but not unexpected. I would be surprised if anyone were to say that this is not one of Amulet's worst matchups. Engineer Explosives is good. It hits all their ones, like Utopia Sprawls and such. We need Force of Vigor in case they're playing actual Blood Moon. They might not. They might just be playing Mages of the Moon, but we can't really pretend like they don't have Blood Moon, because then we just get blown out by it. So, they could be on that 5-mana red Planeswalker. I don't remember the name, but it's possible we'd be interested in Negate, but it's also off color, so I'm not really sure on that. Tracker and Baloth kind of get on the ground and stabilize. I like Tracker. I'm not sure about Baloth. Chameleon Colossus probably is not impactful enough. Tracker only costs a single green as well, so I think I'm going to bring it in. I may not bring in the Baloth. So we definitely want to cut packs here, because as we can see, we kind of just die if something goes south with them. Stirrings finds basic lands and amulets. They're likely to have stuff to blow up our amulets, but I don't know. Maybe Stirrings is fine. I usually side a few out, but I'm going to try it a little differently this time, depending on if I can find anything else to cut, to be honest. Since bounce lands aren't particularly reliable, other than ramping out an early Dryad or Azusa, I think maybe cutting an Amulet or even 2 is fine. They might bring in things like Nature's Claim or something along that line. We don't really have time for Explorer in a matchup like this, because the second they get a Blood Moon down, we're just dead, so we really need to be more proactive than that, I think. We could even cut another Summoner's Pact. I don't hate that. It does find our Rex Sage, but I don't know if that's good enough. Force of Vigor is able to hit their 1-drop, like Utopia Sprawls, if they don't find a Blood Moon. Trim of Stirrings, and maybe just 2 Stirrings, just so we can be a little more proactive and not spend our time spinning our wheels. Not really looking bright for us in this match, I'm not gonna lie. So, I'd be surprised to win a game 2, and especially a game 3 after, if we are able to make it that far. So this hand has a Vesuva to copy their basic land, and has a Force of Vigor to play around Blood Moon. If they have Blood Moon, the basic land would be relevant for Mages of the Moon, and a Garenbrig to speed up our Titan, so I think we have to keep it, but it's not great. I'm not super thrilled with this hand, but I mean, what are we mulliganing into, to be honest? Because if we mulligan into an Amulet hand, which we already sided 1 Amulet out in the first place, we could get blown out by any kind of Amulet, like, interaction, something like a Nature's Claim. They could just turn 2 Blood Moon us, and then our bounce lands don't do anything with an Amulet, so I don't think there's any sense in trying to mulligan towards that. So I got a 1-drop. There's been Birds of Paradise both times, which is pretty interesting. I am going to go ahead and preemptively copy this forest, just so we have a chance. The question is, if they play a Mages of the Moon, when do we cast the Summoner's Pact for a Dryad? Because every land drop they make gets them closer to something like Glorybringer. In the non-Obosh lists, I would be afraid of something like 4-mana Chandra. I don't remember the name. But the 4-mana Chandra can downtick to kill Dryad. So that would be a consideration, and potentially playing out the Dryad earlier rather than later. But since we know they're not playing it with the Obosh, then we don't have to worry about that. But we still want to get underneath a Glorybringer if possible. Seasoned Pyromancer is pretty good news for us at the moment. Anything that's not a Blood Moon effect is a little slow against us, especially basically Lingering Soul. I think we are capable of beating Lingering Souls. That's an Amulet. We actually have a Titan here. If we... Wait, no. No, we're 1 short of a Titan. So we would pact for an Azusa, play Amulet, play Bounce Land, play Azusa, and play Bounce Land 2 more times. That would be 4 mana. Usually, if the Amulet was already in play with the 2 lands that we have, that would be a Titan. But since we can't actually activate the Garenbrig, unfortunately, we're just a little short. So in that case, I'm gonna play the Amulet, and perhaps Valakut makes sense in case we draw a Dryad. I don't know. And we'll just see what they have. I wonder what they kept if they didn't have the early Blood Moon effect. Maybe they were hoping the Seasoned Pyromancer would draw them into something? Not really clear. I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt in this matchup to try to mulligan into a Blood Moon effect, I would say. So, that's a choke. It currently doesn't affect us. And we have the force to kill it whenever we want to if we need to get a Dryad in play. Which, at the current time, I don't think that we do need to worry about Dryad. Once they get a Magus in play, perhaps, then Dryad might be more relevant. Let's see. So here, we can, let's see, 1, 2, use 1, wait, play this, 2, 3, go down to 1, use 2 more, and that leaves us with, it doesn't really have any upside, really, to play the Grazer here, instead of just playing the Sanctuary. Let's see, if we just play Land Titan, haste it, then what are we getting? On the attack trigger, we get, I guess, T-West and a Forest. Bounce the Valakut or something, I don't know. And then summon his pack forward and play a Dryad, and then we're set up against... but that doesn't... we can just force over the choke with the Grazer on the instep, so I think that's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna make this the line. Not 100% sure it's completely ideal here, because there's a lot of stuff to have to play around, so we'll activate this, and we'll pick up the Garenbrig, I suppose, since it'll come into play untapped later if we need it to. And then here we can attack. Don't usually get to Amulet combo an opponent who's playing Blood Moon, but I'll take it. I'm going to go ahead and yield to these since we only have 1 Amulet in play anyways. Go ahead and haste this guy as well. So we probably want to protect the Stronghold and leave more mana in play in case we don't see a Blood Moon effect on their side. So I think leaving the Garrison in play is correct here. Usually that's the reasoning for that play, although most people kind of do it mindlessly. So the Growth Chamber, and then they have a basic forest in play, and we also have the same thing, so I think we want a Snow Forest here for potential Field of the Dead shenanigans in the future. And then here, we'll just pick up the Selesnya Sanctuary. Now, we'll pick up the Boros Garrison in case we need to do something special to play around, like removal on our Dryad or something, and we need to, like, removal plus, like, a land destruction effect, I suppose. Man, I just did all of that in the wrong-ass phase. Oh, well. That really sucks. That was a bad mistake. Okay, well, if we pay for it, we'll pay for it. Luckily, already having a Titan in play is enough of an advantage in this matchup that we may not pay too terribly much for that mistake. Okay, there's Luca. This is probably an Emrakul. Can we beat an Emrakul? I think we can, actually. So we pay 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have haste, right? Exile target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card with higher mana cost. Put that card on the battlefield and the rest on the bottom. Okay. So actually, because of the Valakut we have in play, I think we still have lethal. I don't see any reason to block if they attack with the tokens. So we'll float some mana. We'll pay for the pact. Yes. Dismember doesn't really do much here. Don't have a Vesuva to play, but we definitely want to get the Dryad in play now. I think we just attack. Yeah. Doesn't really matter. We'll get 2 Vesuvas, both copying Valakut, and... Oh, wait, we only have 1 Vesuva. Oh, we already did have the Vesuva in play. Okay. It's not going to make any difference. I guess I don't want to deal with all the triggers. I'll just get a forest. And copy this. Tons of mistakes. Luckily, makes no particular difference in this scenario. Huh. Okay, so we got a game 2 despite that. Do we want to make any changes? We did see Luca, so maybe Negate is more interesting, but we did not see any Blood Moons. I don't recall. Yeah, they had Mages of the Moon before. So, I don't know if Negate would be worth it. It might, but what would we cut? Stirrings, perhaps. I'm not really sure. I think that Beast Within to answer Luca, or just kill them with Titan and Dryad anyways, if they go for the Emrakul plan, is punishment enough for them tapping out. We can actually also just Beast Within the Emrakul, which I have done in the past before. It's interesting. I think we're fine. I think we're set up all right for this, so I'll try to play a little tighter this time. This has an answer to Magus. Has a quick 3-drop if we happen to draw it. And if we draw a 3rd source, this has Blood Moon protection as well. So I'm liking this hand. We can also EE on 1 on turn 1 instead of play the Grazer, and then play 2nd Force and blow it up. If they lead on like a Birds or an Arbor Elf, especially an Arbor Elf, I would say. If they lead an Arbor Elf, then... Oh, we're on the draw though, so that might be a little too late. It's probably better to try to keep up with the Grazer and save the explosives for a potential Blood Moon. Leading on Utopia Sprawl is interesting. That means that they're going to have a maximum of 3 mana next turn. And I am expecting this Blood Moon to come down. I could lead on Cavern, Grazer, and Gruul Turf and not expose either forest in case they have a pillage. And I don't hate that. And then the turn after we can play and blow explosives if we need to on 1. And if it's not Blood Moon, if it's a Magus instead, then we have Dismember. So I think that's the line I'm going to go for. Good old Beast. Usually a Cavern on turn 1 naming Scout would be the typical play. Most lists used to play Sakura Tribe Scout. Recently, the choice has been Arboreal Grazer since the metagame is more aggressive now, and Scout's pretty unlikely to survive, especially with all the lava darts running around, so... Okay, there's the Magus. Not surprised there. I don't know if there's a point in waiting on the Dismember. I wish there was a way that we could Dismember and then explosives and also blow it up, but I don't think that's possible. So instead I'm going to run out the Snow Forest because we have a duplicate of it already ready to go. I mean, we also could potentially just ignore the Magus here since we have 3 basic lands. What would explosives be doing here, though? I wouldn't want to play it this turn anyways. I'm just going to pass, and we'll see what happens. If they have another Magus, then it might be better to try to ignore the Maguses entirely. Ah, man, for a second I thought their username was Infernape. It's a Pokemon from back when I was a little bit younger. I think it's a little outdated now. I don't know if they brought it back with like all the mega evolutions and stuff, but that is not actually their username, sadly. A little disappointed. Oh yeah, I was like, you can't have a 4-drop because of Obosh, so... Okay, for a second I thought they were stomping the Arboreal Grazer, and I was like, that's a little aggressive. If we dismember this now, we don't really get any benefit other than being able to blow explosives on 1 and take them down to 3 mana. I think keeping them off of a Luca or a Glorybringer is probably reason enough to go ahead and make this play. Another Titan. Not really that super interesting at the moment. So I'll play Forest. And we'll explosives on 1. And I think we want to do it now. We're going to take 4 from this, but in 2 turns we have a Titan, so I think as long as we don't just die immediately, then we'll be fine. We're a couple of turns away from a Titan if they have another moon effect. And that in that case, the Bone Crusher might become a problem, but we also might draw a Dryad or a Azusa, which can let us play out the rest of our lands and potentially line up a chump block in the case of an Azusa. They're on 1 card and a Bone Crusher on the field, so they can't cast Obosh. We're looking pretty good here, all things considered. Ooh, that castle was a magnificent top deck. Alright, it's Titan time. Titan O'Clock. Now, what can we do here to preempt this Obosh? Yes, we want to use this. So, Talaria West would usually be reasonable to line up another Titan, but we already have a Titan. It might be reasonable to get Radiant Fountain so that we are at a little bit of a higher life total. If they just go land Obosh, swing for 8. I don't know. Let me read this card. So it only deals double damage, so we could still block and kill with a Titan. And then play a second Titan, that's probably good enough. So in that case, I'm going to go for a field just to get it in play. And probably the last Forest? Nah, with 3 is probably enough. I'll go for Valakut then. I like Valakut in the case we draw Dryad, so... It could also have been 2 blue sources, so our next Titan that we play can also immediately transmute a T-West. So, like, play this guy, get Breeding Pool T-West, or something like that, Breeding Pool Bounce Land. And then, if we have to block and trade, which I will do, I think... preserve our life total. We know we have another Titan lined up, so it's no big deal. There's a growth chamber. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different names. So we're going to be able to get Vesuva, copying the field, and a land. So not really worried about this. Getting a second field looks pretty good here against an Obosh. Is there anything that we can try to set ourselves up against? I think we definitely want a T-West, actually. So we can get a... I mean, we don't need a second field, actually. We can do without. I think maybe Blue Source TOS is going to be best here. And since we have Simic Growth Chamber in play, we can go ahead and play it and pick up the TOS this turn and just be able to transmute it next turn without having to pick it up. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get another bounce land, though. I think it's better to get Breeding Pool so that we get all the zombies that we want this turn. Alright, here's our Growth Chamber. We'll stack this first. We get back our T-West. And we'll pass the turn. Next turn we can transmute, play Dryad, swing with Primeval Titan, get... we don't have any Vesuvas this time. I'm checking, finally. We don't have any Vesuvas in play at the moment, so I think that should just be game. Okay, yeah, that's the match. Well, I did not expect to win this matchup. But I suppose there are ways to steal some wins, so sitting pretty here at a nice 2-0. We'll see how we do in the next round. I apologize for that blunder in game 2, but I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe our opponent should have mulliganed their third hand since they didn't. Well, maybe they had the mages and decided not to play it that turn for some reason. I'm not sure. Anyways, somehow we ended up winning that match, so I'll never complain about winning against a Blood Moon deck. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you for round 3.